So first of all, happy World School Milk Day. It is a great time. You know, we have this opportunity once a year to remind the world that school milk programs are important and are nourishing children around the world. We know that at least 160 million children worldwide benefit from milk in school. We know that those programs are recognized for their positive impact on nutrition needs of school-age children to support their growth and development, and that they can help to address issues of malnutrition and encourage healthy habits. Obviously, milk and food and dairy food provide an abundant supply of high-quality protein and micronutrients, such as calcium, phosphorus, potassium, iodine, vitamin A, B2, B12, and D. So this is a unique package of essential nutrients that is combined to address all forms of malnutrition. Next slide, please. We have a great program for you today with exceptional speakers that will share their experience with us. Please note that the event is recorded and that you can ask questions through the chat function button that you see on your screen, and that the presentation and recording will be available for the registered participants. So our first speaker today is Raphael Fabregas, Director of Tetra Laval Food for Development. And so it will be talking about best practices in the school milk program. The second speaker is from India. So we hope that our colleague will be able to join us. I'm still waiting for her to arrive. And the third speaker is Heidi Kessel from the Global Children Nutrition Foundation, who will be talking about the school meal program survey that has been launched recently. Next slide, please. You will recall that last year's celebration, our webinar focused on the IDF 2020 bulletin on the contribution of school milk program to the nutrition of children worldwide. And the recording of this webinar is available on our IDF YouTube channel if you want to hear about the two case studies that we presented last year from India and from the US. But this year, we've decided to kick out that celebration with an introduction of our new School Meal Knowledge Hub. And to do that, we have a short video for you. So please, let's play the video. We really encourage you to have a chance to go and visit the Knowledge Hub. And we do update the case study section. So please do not hesitate if you would like us to showcase your program in your country. We'll be more than happy to do so. So now let's start with our first speaker of today. The next slide, yes. So Raphael Fabregas is the Director of Tetra Laval Food for Development. And Raphael has a long experience and deep knowledge of school milk program around the world. Raphael has pre-recorded his presentation, and his colleague Katarina Eriksson will be with us for the Q&A section at the end. So Fatima, let's play the recording, please.
Good day, everyone. I would like to wish everybody a happy World School Milk Day. I'd also like to give a very special thanks to the IDF for organizing this wonderful event, and a big congratulations on the launch of the new School Milk Knowledge Hub. I think it's a wonderful initiative, and we're very glad to share our global experiences in school milk programs around the world. I would also like to take this moment to recognize the exemplary work that our customers are doing around the world and continuing delivering school milk to children despite all the school closures. We've seen some great examples of that, of how the collaboration and partnerships with local authorities and NGOs has been done, and we're glad to share those experiences as well. Just a little bit of an introduction about ourselves. The Tetra Laval group consists of 3 industry groups: Tetra Pak, Sidel, and De Laval. All focus on the technologies for the efficient production, processing, and packaging of foods. We cover the entire value chain. Within the 3 industry groups, Tetra Pak has a very long history and tradition in school feeding. For more than 58 years, we've been collaborating and supporting our customers and are working together with NGOs, governments, UN agencies, and international agencies around the world, and participating and sharing best practices in school feeding programs. Before COVID, we were participating in 56 countries, and 68 million children received milk or other nutritious beverages and Tetra Pak packages at school. The pandemic has caused disruptions in the deliveries, of course, around the world because of all the school closures. So last year, 64 million children in 45 countries received milk or other nutritious beverages and Tetra Pak packages in school. This was done intermittently, and as countries closed and reopened, then children were able to receive nutrition. As well, a lot of alternative distribution methods were also implemented, which was great to see. Tetra Pak's vision is that we commit to making food safe and available everywhere. Protects what's good is our brand promise. The vision is what really drives our purpose and what has driven our work in school feeding and school milk programs throughout the years. The Tetra Pak's food processing and packaging technology has played a key role in providing safe nutrition for school kids all over the world. Our focus is on food safety, and we also provide technical assistance and share our best practices used in school milk programs around the world, like we are doing today. For example, we have a school feeding specialist pictured here. He has provided support, working in collaboration with governments around the world in 42 countries. And we cover areas for in distribution, food safety training, for example, administrative setup of programs, impact evaluation, monitoring, and assessments. So we're glad to always share support and provide this knowledge. Now, having worked in many countries around the world, we know that there is an existing infrastructure challenges. So our purpose is really to ensure that school children have access to safe nutrition. So we work very closely with our customers and in collaboration to minimize the impacts that there is existing today in ways to deliver the milk and nutrition to the kids. We see many countries have a access to electricity or inconsistent supply in some of the areas. We see that there's no kitchens or to prepare school meals, lack of potable water, for example. The deliveries are in some areas require other means of transportation due to lack of roads, or we have flooding during the rainy season. And then of course, COVID added a totally new challenge to the deliveries because of the school closures. Now, we understand and acknowledge the global challenges related to food security and nutrition. It is important to collaborate in this regard to tackle these challenges. According to the FAO Food Security and Nutrition Report, 690 million people suffer from malnutrition worldwide. 1 in 4 children are stunted. Meanwhile, you have about 42% of the global milk production comes from smallholder farmers, and which is not formally processed, or many of this milk, much of this milk, I should say, can get lost throughout the value chain. So we have a malnutrition challenge, and then we have a great source of nutrition that can add a lot of value to that. Now, in our work, we believe that it is very important to collaborate and work in partnerships between all stakeholders to tackle these challenges, and especially in sharing when it comes to school feeding and school milk programs. We share our best practices and collaborate with many organizations around the world, like we're doing today with the IDF. You know, the School Milk Knowledge Hub is a wonderful example of that, sharing such all the experiences, impact data, how programs are run, the owners of the programs, how they are implemented. You know, all these best practices are wonderful to share, so that you know, the programs can be implemented for the long term, and they're sustained. I will talk a little bit more about that later on. If we take a global view of school feeding, according to the World Food Programme's latest State of School Feeding Worldwide report, 388 million children in 161 countries now receive food in schools. Now, also, we should say that there's an excellent study that was done in 14 countries where it was shown that school feeding is a great investment for a country. And this study showed that for every dollar invested, there was an economic return of between $3 and $9. This is due to economic development, health reduction costs, and also the improvement in developing the agriculture value chain. Job creation, for example. It's also very important to note that 4 out of 5 countries now have school feeding program policy in place, in comparison to 2013, when the previous study was conducted. This is very important to maintain the programs, because policy brings funding, and it's done for the long term when you have policy in place and you have agriculture development linked to it. And of course, demonstrating improved nutrition and health standards all go hand in hand. So this was a great improvement to see that it's gone from 42% to 80% now. And in low-income countries, we've seen a very big improvement. And 90% of the school feeding programs are now funded by governments. The annual investment that is being done now in school feeding programs around the world is $43 billion, taken from the 155 countries that were reported in the study. Now, if we take a look at the global view of school milk, you know, we see that milk is the most widely used source of nutrition in school feeding programs around the world. The IDF has done a wonderful study and reports on the contribution of school milk programs to the nutrition of children worldwide, where 160 million children in 62 countries receive milk in schools. I invite everyone to read the study and the report. It has great information, and it's a great source of data. Of course, you will find it on the School Milk Knowledge Hub, and we're very glad to contribute to that. Now, in our experiences throughout the years, you know, we really focus a lot on the sustainability of the programs. You know, I think it's widely known that between all of the relevant stakeholders and organizations that you know, a lot of best practices should be implemented in order to ensure the long-term investment in school meals and in school milk programs. We should also measure the impact along the value chain. You know, there's a lot of focus, of course, on the nutrition of the children, which is the most important, and the health. of course, but also it has a great impact on the education and the agriculture sector. So whenever you can measure impact along the value chain, it is very important so that these programs are prioritized and they have policy in place and funding and to sustain it for the long term. What data to collect? When you're validating the positive results of the school milk programs, you can measure data all across the value chain. And you start, of course, with the children. The nutrition and education benefits, the height, weights, for example, school enrollment and classroom attendance, the school dropout rates and the knockoff rates, I should say, local production and employment related to the programs, acceptability surveys can be done. And of course, very important to measure the qualitative feedback from the parents, teachers, and the community of how school meal programs have a very positive effect on the children and the communities. Now, we take a look at some great examples of that. In China, for example, you have a program that's been running, school meal program that's been running for since 2000. It's being funded by parents and also the government and implemented by the government and the Dairy Association of China. Here you have a great example of how you have nutrition benefits of the children were measured, and it showed some great results. And also you have a very good way of demonstrating how the school milk programs have also helped to catalyze the dairy sector production and growth over the years. In the Dominican Republic, you have a great example of a program that has been around for a while, and it's really it's funded by the government and it has a policy and legislation in place, and it's being implemented by the Ministry of Education. Now here you have a study that was done by the FIL-IDF, the Ministry of Education, in collaboration with the United Nations. Also, it showed that there was an anemia presence reduction and chronic malnutrition presence reduction over the years. Also, the vitamin presence of vitamin B12 and vitamin A presence also increased throughout this study. And it was done also in collaboration, I should mention, the INCAP, which is the Nutrition Institute of Central America and Panama. And you have a link to the report here if you wish to read it. In Ecuador, we have another great example of a program that is being funded and by the government, and it also has policy in place. It's being implemented by the Ministry of Education. Here is a great example of how many jobs have been created because of the program. You have the impact on food processing, on the dairy farmers, and then they even measured the amounts of the return from the investment on there. Also has, you could see the amount of milk production and processing that goes from the milk that goes into the program. In Kenya, we have a great example on school attendance improvements. Here, the school milk program is being funded by the government and also by parent paid, and it's being implemented in various counties. Here you see there was a very interesting results of where the attendance and school enrollment rates were improved in areas where, in counties where the school milk program was in place versus control schools where the school milk program was not in place. So you see, for example, in Nairobi County, the school enrollment increased 55%, which is incredible. Mombasa, Meru, and Embu counties also showed a very good school enrollment increase compared to the others. And the dairy production is quite high, and the milk per capita consumption is also one of the leading countries in Africa. In Mexico, you have a very long-running program. Actually, our participation started in 1962, but the program has been going on since 1929. It's being implemented by the government, and it's fully funded by the government, and it's the government organization that implements it is called the DIF, or the Integral Family Development, I should say, program. So here you have a great example of how the nutrition impact of milk on the kids. And for example, you take anemia presence and iron deficiency have been improved. The milk was fortified, I should mention here, in this study that was done by the National Institute of Public Health. And we have very good examples of how, in many ways, you can add fortification to the milk to also help improve the nutrition for the kids. And Thailand is another wonderful example of improved milk production. This program is also being funded by the government, and it's also been around since 1992. There's a lot of the dairy sector, I should say, is very much involved in the program, also with all of the processors there, and it covers more than 7 million children. I think the one takeaway that is impressive from the Thailand program is that almost 40% of the milk production in Thailand goes to the school milk program. Then not only that, they've also have nutrition impact studies that have shown how it has been reduced over the years. And of course, you have very good impact data on the dairy markets and how that is being positively improved over the years. Now, we have, unfortunately, we don't have time to go through so many examples. We have 17 country impact data examples, but we're glad to share that with all of you through the School Milk Knowledge Hub, which is a great source of information. We have a school feeding handbook that was launched, so I invite everyone to please download it at our website or contact us if you need more information. We're glad to continue sharing all these experiences and how countries have developed their school milk programs over the years, how they have implemented the programs measuring impact, which is, I can't stress this enough, it's so important to measure the impact along the value chain, because school milk programs and school feeding programs around the world have shown positive impact from the nutrition, health, agriculture, and education. So please go through this information. We'll continue to collaborate and support the IDF with our experiences and sharing. If you have any more questions on that, please feel free to contact us. And in closing, I would like to wish everybody, once again, a very happy World School Milk Day, and congratulations to the IDF on this, once again, for this wonderful initiative. And we're so glad to be a part of it and share our global experiences and best practices. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Raphael, for this great presentation. And again, I remind our participants that the slides and recording of the event will be made available to all registered participants, so you will have a chance to review the presentation from Raphael. Yes, so our next speaker will be Heidi Kessler. She's a Senior Program and Operation Officer at the Global Child Nutrition Foundation. Heidi has an extensive experience with Global School Meal Program, and we're very happy to have her with us today. So Heidi, the floor is yours.
Greetings. Can you see me and hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Fantastic. Thank you. Happy School Milk Day, everyone. Thank you very much to IDF for hosting today's event. I'm very excited to be here. All right, let's go ahead and dive in. So for our 10 to 12 minutes together, these are the items that I'd like to cover briefly. I'll tell you a little bit about Global Child Nutrition Foundation. We'll talk about school meals in general. Then we'll get specific about milk in schools. We'll look at some, and then finally, we'll look at some country examples of school milk programs. A little bit about Global Child Nutrition Foundation. We work with a global network of governments, businesses, and civil society organizations, industry, academia, nonprofits to support national, locally sourced, and nutritious school meal programs. We have a couple flagship programs I'd like to make sure to tell you about. The Global Child Nutrition Forums represent the world's largest opportunity for school feeding professionals to celebrate their successes and to have the opportunity to build excitement and political will for their programs. We've had over 70 different countries gathered at one place in one time to talk about school meal programs. It's a really powerful event. The Global Survey of School Meal Programs, which was initiated in 2019, established the world's most comprehensive database on school feeding to date. The breadth of topic areas covered by the survey is wider than any other existing data collection mechanism, and it covers everything from health and nutrition to job creation to program sustainability. GCNF's learning exchanges help to fast-track improvements in school meal programs by expanding information sharing and problem solving within and between countries. And our business network engages companies and organizations, large and small, in the effort to strengthen their relationship with government-operated national school feeding programs. A little bit about school meals themselves. So school meals are present in almost every country, as we also heard from Raphael, functioning as one of the largest social safety nets in the world. It's estimated that 368 million children, and actually that's closer to 388 million children, almost 1 in 5, receive a daily meal when they are at school. Evidence shows that school meals increase enrollment, increase attendance rates, specifically for girls, and they provide students with the energy they need to concentrate, learn, and to become productive members of society. So now that we've covered GCNF, what we do, and school meals in general, let's dive into school milk. So in 2020, GCNF undertook a consultancy to propose a pilot program, a pilot school milk program for Pakistan. And as part of that work, we examined results from key global studies to gain insights into school milk programs. So I am on the prior slide, if you want to go back 2 slides. Yes, excellent, thank you. So some of the studies that we looked at included some work from FAO, School Milk Survey, as well as, of course, the International Dairy Federation's most recent survey, the contribution of school milk programs to the nutrition of children worldwide. We also engaged a number of other organizations and individuals with high levels of expertise in school milk. So let's look at just a couple highlights and some of the basic things that we know about school milk today. So at least 68 countries are providing school milk, and school milk programs are reaching huge numbers of children. About 160 million children benefit from school milk worldwide. We know that 39 countries have made official recommendations for milk consumption for children. And we know that improving child health and nutrition is the primary program objective for school milk programs. A majority of school milk programs use nutrition-based rationale to establish their program frameworks. School milk programs provide local economic benefits. A majority of the countries surveyed by IDF require local purchase of at least half of the dairy products for their programs. It's important to note that milk is provided free or at least at a subsidized price in the majority of programs so that even the poorest children can benefit. We know that school milk programs integrate really well with other health and nutrition programs at school. In fact, 59% of programs indicated that their school milk program is a part of a wider reaching school nutrition initiative. And finally, school milk programs provide a predictable and long-term market for farmers and processors, thereby supporting productivity gains and private sector development. So this is information that we have had, and we also have access to some new interesting information from the 2019 Global Survey of School Meal Programs. I'm going to share some of that data, but to get us grounded in where that information came from. It came from the Global Survey of School Meal Programs, to which 103 countries around the world responded, and 85 of those countries reported on large-scale school nutrition programs. Those countries that covered an estimated almost 300 million children are receiving food through the responding countries. And countries that responded to the survey represent 78% of the world's population, and the vast majority of them were reporting on data from the 17-18 school year. So now that we know where the data came from, let's look into some of the details. So if we look at the types of food items offered in school meal programs and how frequently they are offered, we find that about 50% of school nutrition programs serve dairy products. You can see that on the slide here compared to grains, which is pushing upwards towards 100%, poultry closer down to 40%. We have dairy products at about approximately 50%. But on the next slide, when we look at that more closely, we find that there is a significant disparity between high income and low income countries. In high income countries, 100% of reporting programs are serving dairy products. But that value decreases as we go from upper middle to lower middle and lower income settings. Milk-based foods have been used successfully in the treatment of moderate and severe malnutrition in children. And it's a nutrient-dense food with important nutrients such as calcium, magnesium, selenium, B12. So how is it that this incredibly nutritious and valuable food is only offered in 20% of low-income country programs? On the next slide, we look into how school milk is delivered. What kinds of modalities include school milk? We look at in-school meals, as well as in-school snacks. So we have a breakfast or a lunch, sometimes a supper, a snack, or take-home rations. And what we find is that milk is included in over 50% of in-school snack programs. That's the primary modality for school milk. It's found in 35% of meals, school meals, and 10% of take-home rations. So GC&F is currently collecting data for the second round of information for the Global Survey of School Meal Programs. And I think it's going to be really interesting to see if milk has increased and shifted more to the take-home ration modality due to school disruptions due to the pandemic. So we'll have that information in early spring. So a wide range of countries have school milk programs, from Argentina to Rwanda, Turkey to Malaysia. Countries with strikingly different contexts have been able to establish and maintain school meal programs. But do we know anything about the impact? We are lucky in that we already heard about some important impact data from Raphael. To talk about it a little bit more, we have we've borrowed the information from Tetra Laval for 5 specific countries: Bangladesh, China, Indonesia, Thailand, and Pakistan. The next slide, please. You can see that these countries have measured outcomes ranging from attendance to height and weight improvements to the income of dairy farmers. So we can look at a smaller program in Pakistan and see that there has been increases in enrollments, increases in weight and height, reductions in wasting and stunting. We can look at a larger program, China, covering 22 million children, and see similar improvements. it's interesting to see the impact data that has been measured around agriculture and economy, seeing in that China, there's been a 500% increase in UTH milk production, and the overall income of dairy farmers is increasing substantially. So when we reflect along kind of the key global insights and the key learnings, it's very clear that school milk programs are prioritizing improving child health and nutrition. That's the primary program objective for school milk programs. The majority of programs are offering these dairy products to students free or at a subsidized rate, which is so essential to make sure that there's equitable access to this nutrient-dense package. The majority of programs have a single stakeholder who is overseeing the program management, and most commonly that's a government body, and generally school milk programs are held within the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock. It's also really beneficial to know that the majority of programs include those requirements for local purchase of the dairy products so that it can have that impact on local agriculture and the economy. So in general, we can tell that school milk initiatives are well positioned to positively impact the dietary habits and nutritional status of children and adolescents. And as we saw, school milk initiatives can also have a real positive impact on local dairy farmers and therefore local agriculture economies. Addressing this disparity, this access disparity issue is going to be something that we need to pay keen attention to in coming years. So thank you very much to those sharing today's panel with me, as well as to all of you who have taken a moment to join today's conversation and presentation. I'd like to thank IDF not only for hosting today's panel, but for also thank you and congratulations to you for creating and launching the School Milk Knowledge Hub. It's an incredibly valuable resource that will prove useful for years to come. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Heidi, for this great presentation. And actually, it is stimulating some question already. So let's just want to make sure, Mrs. Jody, do you want to take the floor? Doesn't seem so. Okay. So let's go with the question. We actually have a question for you, Heidi, regarding your statement about the 20% of low-income countries that are distributing milk. So the question is, did you dive into how those countries are divided within what type of dairy product they use? There is a big difference between affordability of dairy product from powder to cheese. So do you have a bit more details about that?
Interesting question, and I'm afraid we don't. We simply asked the question about dairy products in general. And in the overall survey have not dove down deeper into the type of dairy products.
Okay, while we wait, I know that Katarina as well, you can maybe open your camera if you want to join the conversation. I was wondering maybe if you could talk a little bit more about challenges in terms of implementation of school milk program. I know that we've talked about in Raphael's presentation about infrastructure, and maybe a question, Heidi, you've mentioned about as well, affordability or accessibility of product. Is this something you'd like to expand on?
Thank you, Caroline, and also from me, happy School Milk Day, and congratulations to the School Milk Hub and to this webinar. Maybe I can sort of, at the same time as answering your question, also comment on the question received by Heidi, and obviously there are different challenges with different types of dairy products, and I think one of the answers to why we see less of in the low-income countries is, of course, the challenges with food safety. So it's not just a cost issue; it's also the challenges with food safety. Obviously, it's very difficult to supply fresh chilled milk in schools with no refrigeration, and taking into consideration all the challenges that Raphael mentioned in his presentation. And this is something that also was acknowledged by World Food Programme. They issued a paper some years ago about the use of milk in World Food Programme operations, where they acknowledge the fact that, as we talk about today, that milk is a very nutritious product and it has a very important role to provide nutrition in school feeding. But to do that, you need to have safe products. So they acknowledge that you have to process and pack milk in a good way and use products with a long shelf life. So that's a key component to why we see less milk in low-income countries, I think, because of these challenges. You have to have access to safely packed and processed products to be able to distribute it in these kinds of settings.
Heidi?
I agree that food safety is likely one of the most common challenges, especially in those lower income countries. The challenges of implementing school milk programs covers the full gamut, having to address financing, governance, making sure food safety, making sure that the supply exists and is there. Thinking about transportation and access. The good thing is that we have over 60 countries to look at their models and to see how these challenges have been addressed. These challenges exist, but they are not unsurmountable. And we also don't have to reinvent the wheel. Over 60 countries have already figured it out. Tetra Laval, IDF, and Knowledge Hub were able to look at these successful stories and implement them in a variety of contexts. So we shan't let these challenges keep us away.
Thank you, Heidi. That's a very positive message. We do have an interesting question from Stefania. Have you found any conflict in some administrating milk at school from vegan parents?
Interesting. It's not something that I have run into directly with school milk, primarily because it's a optional program to participate in. I have not come across experiences where children are required to consume the milk, and therefore those whose it does not align with their lives are able to decline the option.
Yeah, maybe I can add here. I mean, it's not just I think this issue of vegan parents, as it's expressed. There are of course children that for one reason or the other cannot or don't want to consume milk, and for those there has to be alternatives. In a country like Sweden, which I come from, there are non-dairy alternatives served at lunchtime when children drink their school milk. In other cases, there might be other solutions to this. We have children who are allergic or are lactose intolerant, or for some cultural reasons, or the fact that you would prefer a plant-based alternative. So it's, of course, nobody is forcing children or parents to accept the school milk, but I would say this is not a very big problem. We don't see a lot of these kinds of issues. It's always a very, very small group of children that for some reason do not drink school milk, and then you have to find locally acceptable solutions to that, so that they are also offered nutrition, because that's the whole point of providing the milk in school, to give them nutrition. So if not milk, then they should be served something else, ideally. But again, it's a choice. Nobody's forced to consume. And I don't see this as a very big problem. I haven't heard that it's causing big problems in any programs.
Thank you both for your answers. Actually, let's take a minute to discuss your views on the actually important launch last week during the UN Food System Summit of the School Meals Coalition that is regrouping more than 61 countries and 49 partners. As itself, it is a great signal that at least the word that school milk program and school feeding programs are beneficial to children. So that's very positive. So my question to you is, how do you feel we'll be able to share our expertise with the school milk program? As you mentioned, Heidi, we've been having programs around the world for more than 100 years. So how can this expertise, how can those programs that are in place help in the context of that new coalition?
The Global Child Nutrition Foundation has been holding an annual forum for over 20 years that brings together leaders in civil society, governments, academia, non-NGOs, the full gamut of individuals. It's a 5-day learning session with technical assistance and training, and it's a primary opportunity for everyone who has a stake in school meals to come together and share stories and share successes, share what's been learned. And we're very excited to leverage the Global Child Nutrition Forums and the School Meal Coalition commitments together to have that further opportunity for peer-to-peer learning.
Yeah, I think the fact that we've seen the School Meals Coalition coming out so strongly out of the Food System Summit process is wonderful. I mean, the engagement is already there. I think this is just a receipt that this is very, very important for governments. And for those that haven't really focused on it before, I think this is a very strong signal. I think it's great that we see so many countries committed. And now it's more a fact of finding out how are we going to use this engagement for the benefit of actually making results on the ground for children. How do we get the private sector involved? We still don't really know exactly how that will be. We are just waiting. We are here to take part in this, of course, to offer our knowledge, our expertise, our support. So I think it will be very interesting to see how we can now get from talk to action, and basically continue to do what we are already doing, and hopefully to support even more countries in this work, and to have more children benefit from milk in school or food in school. A nutritious meal, and milk is ideally a part of that. So it's going to be a very interesting time now ahead to see how this will practically evolve, and how we can all join forces, because we have to see this as a partnership. Each program in each country is a partnership, whether you call it a partnership or not. It is. Food comes from the farmers and from the private sector. Governments are there to put policies in place and to put the funding there to implement. So we all have to join forces. And in these expert organizations like IDF and GCNF and others are really crucial in this as well. So let's now just see how the practical partnerships will work.
Excellent. That gives us actually our topic for our next webinar for the School Milk Day next year, to see the progress with the coalition and how this is supporting or maintaining or accelerating school milk program in various countries. So that'll be interesting to see that next year. Any other question from the group before we move to the conclusion?
I'd like to address Nazif's information. So welcome very much, Nazif, and thank you for being here. Nazif has identified himself as an engineer of chemistry for 47 years working in milk and dairy. So thank you very much for being here. If I understand your comments correctly, you're looking for operational information on how you can bring a school milk program to life with a local dairy, a local farm very close to the school, and how can you make that happen? I just want to point you to a couple resources. Of course, within the Knowledge Hub, you'll find plenty of case studies and success stories there. Tetra Laval's operational resources for school feeding are incredibly helpful. They have an excellent toolkit that has been released within the past year that has a lot of operational information. And thirdly, I want to point you to a report by GCNF looking at how to develop a pilot study for a school milk program in Pakistan. So of course it's a different context in a different country, but it does walk you through all the operational components, or the and even not just the operational components, even wider, like how to establish it, how to identify what criteria to use for a pilot program, what KPIs to be using to measure progress. So I just wanted to make sure that you were aware of those materials. And please keep in touch with us and let us know if you are able to establish that program and what assistance you might need along the way.
Thank you. And Nassif will also encourage you to bring some champions. As Katerina said, School Milk Program is a collective effort that needs leadership and commitment. So engaging partners into the project, even as a pilot project, to showcase to the stakeholders the value of it for your country is crucial as a first step, definitely.
I thank you for this program. It's the first time I am hearing the program of milk in school. It is very good, very well, and I'm surprised. I make lections in university, biology, about the cheese, many kinds of cheese, foreign cheeses to produce, but in school milk here in Albania, this program is not known. In middle school, especially now that is COVID, right, is the most important for the milk and to give milk program in school, because you see in school to eat patatina, to eat chocolate creme, and to eat some things, no, and they don't know the importance of the milk. Now I am surprised, nearby my dairy is my school, 100 meters of middle school. And I think to go to speak with the teachers of the school, with the director, to make elections to the children of 12 years that don't know nothing. This program of milk is very, very good. And I'm giving is and for me this. And I thank you for your organizing this program School of Dairy, as doing many countries. Thank you very much of you.
Thank you so much for participating. And if you need any more support or information, please do not hesitate to contact us or your colleagues from neighboring country as well, with a very strong program that could be supportive as well. We might have some colleagues from India that'd like to share as well their experience. There's a comment in the chat about the different products that are used for the school program in India.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. This is Gautam Dev. I am Deputy Commissioner and representing Barsha Joshi, Joint Secretary in the Department of Animal Husbandry, Dairy and Fisheries. And thank you very much. This is a good initiative by IDF. I appreciate, and we from India, we appreciate. In our country, actually, this is a state subject. We have many states. And in the few states are operating this program. In fact, we have a Ministry of Women and Child Development who generally steer it through their own network in the state, various states. So through their Women and Child Development Department in the states. So, but milk supply is from the cooperatives, ma'am. We have cooperative and private players operating in various states. So a few states, I can give you one example. We have a state called Karnataka. This is in southern India. They are covering approximately 56,000 schools and around 64 lakh children, and supplying whole milk powder, and it is running very successfully. They work in the block level or district level, where the district Women and Child Development Officer, they send the demand. State Human Resource Development Department or school, primary school department, they send the demand, and based on the demand, the milk federation or milk cooperatives in the district or nearby district, they actually supply it to the particular school. Up to the school, they from their own network or own refrigerated vehicle, they send it, especially during the school time, school lunch hour, it is delivered directly to the schools. So, or to the, go downs of the Department of School Education. So this is how it is happening. Since this is a state subject, per children cost generally for whole milk powder or some other dairy product generally comes around 5 to 6 rupee in rupee term. And there is a food basket for every children. Generally within that it is adjusted, ma'am. But during last 1.5 years, due to Corona, the schools were closed and this program could not be operated. But now slowly and steadily it's opening up and supplies being resumed. Thank you very much, ma'am. So we would be hopefully many states earlier, as much as 9 to 10 states in India out of 30 states were implementing this scheme. Now 3 to 4 states are doing this. They have resumed the operation. Hopefully within next 5-6 months, all 9 or 10 schools will start the operation, ma'am. Thank you very much, ma'am, for giving this opportunity. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And if you want to have more details on the school milk program in India, we do have on a YouTube channel a presentation by the chairman of the National Dairy Development Board that was from last year. That is very interesting in giving details of the programs in the different states. So I recommend that you go and watch that video as well. And we do have a business case as well on the India, on the knowledge of. So you'll find different places for information. The one thing we could say, and actually it's very present as well in the chat, is that milk and dairy food is very versatile food that can be used at different kind of meals and then can be used by different products depending of the access to quality water, if you want to use fodder, to UHT product, to fresh product in some circumstances, even yogurt instead of milk in some situations. So there's definitely options and diversity of product that we can offer to make sure that the children get the nutrient-dense food they need for their development. So thank you very much all for your participation. I just want to, in conclusion, to mention the importance of school milks to deliver on the UN development goals. And that's very crucial in the times when we are in the decade of delivery for the Sustainable Development Goals, to remind your government of the contribution of school milk program to at least SDG 2 on zero hunger, but as several other SDGs. It is important to showcase the benefit of those programs to make sure that we can scale them up, bring more countries aboard, and ensure more children have access to school milk program or milk in school feeding program. And lastly, I've mentioned already the coalition. So again, as you see, thank you, Katarina, for connecting with our colleague from Albania, just to make sure that we can help him to move forward with the project. I thank you all for your participation. Look forward to seeing you in any further activity from IDF. I recommend that you visit our website. You can register to our IDF World. It's our newsletter that will ensure that you stay connected with IDF and our work, and that you engage as well with your national chapter in your country, so you can come and help us work on IDF topics. So thank you very much. Have a good World Milk Day, and please share with us any celebration you have in your country so we can showcase them on our website. Thank you to our speaker. Thank you for IDF team for their support. And thank you to all of you for being here with us today. And I wish you a great day. Stay safe and stay healthy.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Caroline.
Thank you.